Hi everyone, Chris from Stone Age Gamer here, and if you have a Super Nintendo, there's a better than even chance it looks a little something like this. The Super Nintendo is prone to yellowing, severe yellowing. Sometimes it's the top, sometimes it's the bottom. It's usually not this part in the middle, which is weird, because I guess it's just made of different plastic, but whatever. Either way, Super Nintendos, they tend to look a little grody over time. Wouldn't it be super cool if instead of that, your system looked like this? Stone Age Gamer now carries some clear shells for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Let's take a look at how they work. Okay, here we are. This is the Super NES shell, top and the bottom. Comes in this little bag here. Let's take a quick look inside and see what we're working with. So here is the crystal clear shell itself. This is the top, obviously. And then we've got some screws and a Super Famicom decal. That's pretty snazzy. And we'll go ahead and take the bottom bit out here. There's the bottom tray. We're going to move these bags off to the side, and it's really cool looking. I like it. It's just go ahead and give it a little test run here. Slap it together, and that is a crystal clear looking Super NES shell. That's I like it. It's awesome. All right, so let's move this aside. Get to the basics of what you're going to need. You're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver, because the screws that come with this guy are Phillips heads. This one is ancient. Sorry about the paint stain, but this is an old screwdriver. And then you're going to need one of these guys. This is a security bit. We sell these here at Stone Age Gamer, and this will get the security screws on the bottom of your existing Super Nintendo open so that you can, place this sucker on there. So let's go ahead and replace this right now. Fits right into standard screwdrivers, so we're ready to go. And this monster right here is what we're going to be replacing the shell of. Ta-da! This is a Super Nintendo that, as you can see, has seen better days. It's all browned on the top. It's missing a chunk out of the corner here. So I figured this was the perfect test subject to crack open and, take the guts out, put it in a new shell, and see what works. So let's get started. I'm going to turn it upside down. Let's go ahead and see what's cooking with this external port. I don't think we're going to need to remove this, but just for poops and giggles, I'm going to go ahead and put that off to the side. All right, let's do some unscrewing and go. All right, so now that we've got the screws all nice and loose, what we want to do is you want to make sure that these guys are staying on the bottom. So we're just going to kind of hold those in place, pull up a little bit, and now the top has been removed. So we'll put this over to the side. Let's clear out some of the business we got going on down here. These screws we're not really going to need anymore because there are new screws for our fancy new machine here. And now we've got the guts that need to go into this system, with the exception of the power and reset switches. So I'm going to say we're going to need to get this stuff off of here and attach it to this. So if you look side by side here, it looks like it's pretty well set to receive all those various screws right where they show up here. So we're just going to unscrew these guys and plop them right in here and see how that looks. Let's get our trusty Phillips head back on and get to work. Okay, we've got all our screws out. This part gets a little tricky. This little arm comes off here. So what we need to take off first is this job right here. This is actually a separate piece. You got these two little clippies in here. We're just going to kind of press them in so we can pull this bit out here. And ta-da. Now, one thing to notice is that this piece here was holding this little wiry thing here. This is what's going to make the trapdoor actually function. So when we put this back together, we're going to want to make sure we do that. Then, once that little arm came off, there's another screw under here, or at least there is in my system. I don't know if there's different revisions that have different numbers of screws, but we're going to go ahead and unscrew this guy. And we're going to leave him separate, just so I know this guy is the first one that goes in. And theoretically, this should just lift out, and it does. Got a little spring in here that is keeping, there we go. the spring was kind of what spring loads the reset button. So now we've got this part taken out. We've got the door flap. That's its own little entity. We've got this guy here that says Super Nintendo on it. Now we just need to take these buttons off, which I don't imagine should be too hard. Looks like they just have little clippies on them. So let's just try and unclip them here. Is that reset or power? Yeah, reset. I got it right. It's weird looking at it from the other side. We'll take these guys out like so. Now this hideous broken shell is ready to be put out to pasture. So let's basically do what we just did in reverse. Okay, now that we have the buttons in place, there's one thing we need to do that's a little bit different here. So when you're looking at the top of this guy as opposed to this guy, you see there's a bit of a structural difference here. These flaps at the top and the bottom are not separate pieces on here. They are their own thing. So what we need to do before we do anything crazy here is we need to get this the flap kind of in place here, right? So there. Now the flap is in place. There's a little groove here where the line from the spring is going to go. Now we're going to turn this upside down without dropping anything, and then we are going to place this on top in a way that doesn't make the flap go flop. And were we successful? We were not. Let's try again. Did I do it? I did it. Look at that. All right, let's put this thing back together. Okay, top of the system seems to be in good working order here. It's time to start working on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and put this off to the side. And let's see if the bottom is a little easier than the top was, because all we got to do is just take everything that's in here and drop it in here. So I see a bunch of different screws, but they're all Phillips heads, and so no more security bits in here. And I'm just gonna unload what I've got and drop it right into there. So let's get to work, shall we? Okay, so here are the innards that I have all removed from its base. I had to take this little doodad off here in the corner to get to another screw that was hiding down there, because this is a, I just so happened to choose my broken Super NES, just so happened to be a slightly more complicated flavor of Super Nintendo. If I can get this shielding up, there we go. See, this is the SHVC CPU01. You can see it there. This guy here is it requires a little bit more effort than most Super Nintendos. So most of the systems that you have are probably just going to fit right into these guys. But this one requires a little bit of extra work. Now, one thing that needs to be pointed out is that you're going to want to remove the shielding on these, which seems counterintuitive, but that's the whole point, is you want to make as much of the innards of the system visible as you can through this fancy clear shell here. So in order to do that, this controller port thingy here, this is ribbon cable just comes right out. Not much to it. Once you pull that out, you can take this shielding off right here, and now we have all of this wonderful green chipsetty goodness showing off here, and we're just going to go ahead and plug this back in right where we got it, like so. There we go. Make sure the power light's on the left. Okay. Now we need to take the shielding off the bottom, because if we don't, it's not going to fit properly in here. So this plate just comes right off like so. We're going to set that over to the side. Now here is our base. The thing is, there's actually one more piece to the puzzle here. Since most Super Nintendos have a different kind of chipset on the inside, there are a couple little pegs added to this guy here that you need to snap off in order to make it sit properly. It is. There's a picture of it on our website. There's one guy here and one guy here. They're just these... Oh, let me reach my pliers here. They're just these little tiny peg guys, and we're supposed to snap them off, and I am going to hope for the best that I don't actually like mess anything up permanently here. So let's see. All right, moment of truth. I may or may not have screwed this up a couple of times, or tried learning how to do this a couple of times before I hit record again. All right, here we go. We're going to get this little bit going in the back here. This is where all that stuff sits. And now, oh, get in there. Voila. It is sitting nice and flat. Look at you. There it is. He's got these two little pegs that fit in this hole here. And now it is sitting nice and firm. Okay. That looks like it is where it belongs. Okay, now we can take this and we're going to slip the controller bits right here in the front. Like so. There we go. Power light fits over there. And this is sitting pretty. We've got the... now we just got to add all our screws back where we found them. Hoping that I can remember where they all went. Okay, so here we go. Time to add some screws. Okay, here we are. I've screwed all the bits back in. A couple things that you're going to want to do that I didn't do. Thing number one, before you unscrew anything, you want to jiggle the power handle a little bit. I saw a little tutorial online that said that sometimes these systems can hold a little bit of a charge in there. So if you don't just turn the power on for a second just to make sure it runs itself out, you might damage something. Thing number two, keep track of where your screws came from because... yeah, I didn't do that. And thing number three, you might want to clean things before you go plopping them back in there because, you know, we're going to put this eject button back in here, but it could stand to be wiped down for sure. But we're just for the sake of getting this all put together, this is where we're going to sit here. So let's see if we can't figure out how this sits in here. Ah, okay. I figured out the spring. That only took me a minute. All right, now it's a moment of truth time. Let's take the top part that we worked on earlier, right here, and we are going to plug her in. Let's see, we're in the off position, Let's get everything lined up, and as long as I did everything correctly, this should work once we screw it all in. So let's screw these bits in and see what happens. And there you have it. There is a clear Super Nintendo. Obviously, like I said, we could have cleaned up the eject button and stuff a little bit more, but for the most part, this looks pretty snazzy, even with just the minimal amount of effort here. And like I said, most other models of Super Nintendo are going to be a lot easier for you to mess with than this guy was. But you can see all the super cool bits on the inside there. Well, let's see, does this cute little door still fit on here? It does. We can cover our little expansion port there. Our power button slides on and off. Our reset button's got spring to it. Our cartridge flap works. There it is. The Super Nintendo in its fancy new shell, nice and clear, and we're good to go. Now, clearly I'm not a professional, as you saw in the video, but it was pretty fun to take this thing apart and figure out how it worked. Obviously, other systems are going to be a lot easier than the one that I used. For the most part, if you don't have that CPU 01 model, they're a lot easier to just kind of put in there and clamp back up. But it was still a fun experience, and it looks so cool. I love the way this thing looks. And there's a smoke one, too, that we get from time to time. It's like this, but not like, you know, blackish kind of color. Either way, these things are awesome, and we have them here at Stone Age Gamer, and that is the long and the short of it. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you liked what you saw here today, please follow, comment, like, and subscribe. Let us know what colored shells do you have for your Super Nintendos. Did you get the clear one? Does it look super awesome like this? Did you get the smoke-colored one? Does it look cool next to your smoke Nintendo 64? I don't know. I think these things are awesome, and I love hearing from everybody, so sound off in the comments. Tell your friends. Thanks again, everybody. On behalf of all of us here at Stone Age Gamer, keep playing games.